Hello, my name is Anna Christina. I was born into an Orthodox family in Alexandria, Asia. When I was 6 years old, my family moved to Canada, but we returned to Egypt for a few years. When I was 14, my father wanted us to reconnect with our culture, so he took us back. At that point, I hired a tutor to help me learn Arabic, and I ended up falling in love with Sam. We dated until I was 20, but my father refused to allow us to marry, saying it would only happen over his dead body because Sam is Muslim and our family is Orthodox. That's unacceptable in Egypt. When we returned to Canada, I met Paul in California and married him. However, I soon realized I was selfish and self-centered, a true narcissist who had emotionally destroyed me. We have 2 children, Colin and Andrew. After 13 years of marriage and after he had threatened me with death multiple times, I managed to break free with a restraining order. After years of no contact, I received a call from Sam, who had found me after 25 years. To my great surprise, Sam was still searching for a compassionate and loving partner, an ideal match. When I was at my most vulnerable, we got married. Unfortunately, the battle for custody of my children began soon after. All kinds of things happened during this time. I was the provider and financial manager, which made things even more complicated given the obstacles we faced. Sam struggled with English, so he took on household tasks like cleaning and cooking. Soon, worrying signs began to show, and in December 2008, we managed to have a conversation and agree on an amicable divorce. He asked to stay in the house for 3 more weeks because he had nowhere else to go. Since I didn't want to force him out, I agreed. After about a week, I started feeling widespread pain and discomfort all over my body. I couldn't go to work, couldn't open my eyes, or even blink without feeling pain. I had an unbearable headache. Sam took me to the emergency room where they told me I had a cold and prescribed painkillers. I was sent home, but Sam gave me his hypertension medication, which eased my headaches a bit, even though my blood pressure was fine. Still, he insisted that I take them. It actually helped me get back to work, and even though I was still in pain, at least I could work. On January 8th, while driving to the office, I had a vision unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. While driving, I saw what looked like a funeral and a family member who had passed away. I saw my sisters and brothers, but not the youngest, Steve. I felt like it was a warning from God. There was no doubt that something could happen to Steve, who was born with a mental disability. I got to the office and quickly organized my team to delegate tasks as I was planning a trip to Egypt the next day. During the meeting, my headache grew worse just as I received a mysterious message. I sat back down at my desk, holding my head in my hands, trying to stop the feeling like I was about to explode. I can't explain it, but the message said, "Stop thinking about it and go home." Without hesitation, I followed the advice. I cut the meeting short, told my team, and explained that even though I had planned to leave on Saturday, I would now leave on Sunday. I booked a reservation for Sunday and told the staff I'd call the next day to finalize the details. I needed to get home urgently. Driving toward the apartment, something unusual happened. The Holy Spirit appeared to me in a clear and unique way. I knew it the moment I heard the sound. Without a doubt, it was him. I can't explain how I recognized him, but that voice echoed clearly in my mind. Unlike the message I'd received at the office, which was more like a thought than a voice, this time it was as clear as if someone were speaking to me right now. I immediately understood it was the Holy Spirit. The strange thing is I had never had direct contact with him before, but I just knew who he was. So the voice of the Holy Spirit taught me not to share, not to speak or tell anyone what had happened or what I had heard. I was climbing the stairs, still shaken by the experience, and I knocked on the door. Sam opened it and asked if I was going the next day or the day after. I looked at him confused and told him that I didn't know, that my thoughts were still muddled and I needed to rest. I promised to let him know the following day. Then he mentioned that he would prepare something for me to rest on while I changed. Sam was making my favorite Egyptian dish, which consists of very fine green beans cooked with rice and meat. However, I stood in front of the plate with no appetite. I looked at the food, but just wasn't hungry. This happened recently. I pushed the beans aside and sat with my bowl of rice. I looked at it unsure how to eat it as it seemed so dry. I was about to give up when the Holy Spirit, who has never stopped speaking to me, said, "Daughter, turn around, open the fridge, take some natural yogurt, and put it on the rice." In Asia, one of the most common ways to eat rice is with yogurt, and that's my favorite way. But at that moment, I was surprised that he cared about something so simple, and I asked, "Do you really care about yogurt on my rice?" He replied that he cares about every little detail in your life. Hearing this, I felt a deep sense of shame. I was 48 years old, and in that moment, I finally understood the depth of that care. When he told me he was always present in every detail, I was speechless. Even though I hadn't realized it, I did what he said. I added the yogurt to the rice, took the plate, and sat on the couch. I heard his voice throughout the meal. After that, I said goodnight and left. I was still confused. I wondered why the Holy Spirit was speaking to me, what was happening. I brushed my teeth, lay down, but I couldn't stop thinking. Then he said, "My daughter, it's not your brother, it's you." As soon as I heard those words, I felt a great weight in my heart. I'm not ready to accept that it's me. While I was lying there, my heart sank at the thought of Colleen and Andrew waking up the next morning to find me dead in my bed. The idea of leaving them broke my heart. However, the Holy Spirit reminded me of a dream I had many years ago about him. Jesus takes Colleen and Andrew in his arms and walks through a lush green field, and we laugh together. I remember holding my children around the waist when he hugged them. That night, I realized I would be with them spiritually. He would take care of them. When I recall that dream, I feel comforted knowing I can entrust them to him. I was ready to accept that possibility and to die. But soon he said, "Daughter, you will take a trip and you will return as my ambassador." Hearing that, my heart calmed. I was relieved to know I was not going to die, but simply start a journey. I eagerly asked, "What do you want me to do?" He responded, "I need you to relax and stop thinking." Although that might sound easy, it's very difficult to stop thinking. However, he was patient, and little by little I was able to relax and calm down. I finally reached a state of peace. Then he said, "Close your eyes, but remember, no matter what happens, daughter, you cannot open them." I nodded and immediately closed my eyes. I felt the room fill with bright light. Never in my life had I felt anything like it. A light that conveyed a powerful presence. I could feel it with my eyes closed, and I didn't dare open them. The being and God the Father. Suddenly, the window to my right began to tremble as if there were an earthquake in the room. My heart started racing faster. Everything was fine at first, but then my heart was pounding so hard that I began to get scared. It was at that moment that everything stopped. The light disappeared, the window stopped shaking, and my heart returned to its normal rhythm. I sat there frustrated thinking, what a shame I messed up my death. But he replied, "No, my daughter, this time you cannot be mistaken," he said. "I need you to be more relaxed, my daughter." I started to understand what he meant. He kept telling me to close my eyes, reminding me not to open them. And he continued to guide me through the meditation until my mind completely stopped thinking. Then he said, "Close your eyes now." As I did, light flooded the room once more and the windows began to shake again. My heart started pounding violently just like before, but this time it was more intense, as if it were about to explode. I felt on the verge of a heart attack, but surprisingly, I wasn't afraid. I knew what was happening and wanted the process to continue. As my heart raced faster, I held steady until everything suddenly stopped. The heart, the lights, and the windows all ceased. Then the Holy Spirit said, "Daughter, the next step is anger." I accepted. Then a wave of pain swept through my body, especially my legs. It felt like someone was hitting my bones. However, while that pain persisted, the Holy Spirit comforted me. He said, "My daughter, it's just a stimulus and it will pass." Those tender words resonated within my soul and brought comfort. I managed to hold on until it finally stopped. When the pain disappeared, I felt great relief. But soon I realized something strange. I couldn't feel my body. I was completely numb from head to toe. Worried, I asked, "Am I paralyzed?" He replied, "Yes, my daughter, you are." Despair filled me for a moment. And I thought, no, this can't be happening. He responded with sympathy. I'm sorry, my daughter. I tried to move my toes, but I couldn't. As I struggled to accept this new state of paralysis, I heard Sam enter the room. I thought he would notice my condition and call 911, but to my surprise, he just lay down with his back to me. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment and Sam sleeps in one of them. I continued to guide myself through the meditation until my mind completely stopped thinking. Then he said, "Close your eyes now." The moment I did, light flooded the room once again, and the windows began to tremble. Once again, my heart started beating as violently as before, but this time even more violently, as if it were about to explode. I felt like I was about to have a heart attack, but surprisingly, I wasn't afraid. I knew what was happening, and I wanted the process to continue. As my heart raced, I stayed calm until everything suddenly stopped. My heart, the lights, and the windows too. What? The next step, my daughter, is excitement. I accepted it. Then, a wave of pain swept through my body, especially in my legs. It felt like someone was breaking my bones. Break them. Yet as that pain lingered, the Holy Spirit comforted me. He said, "Mitz, my daughter, it's just a stimulus that will pass." Those tender words resonated in my soul like the comforter described in the Bible. This consolation made the pain more bearable, and I managed to endure until it finally ceased. When the pain disappeared, I felt relieved, but soon I realized something strange. I couldn't feel my body. I was completely numb from head to toe. Worried, I asked, "Am I paralyzed?" He replied, "Yes, my daughter, you are." Despair occupied me for a moment, and I thought, no, this can't be happening. He responded sympathetically, "I'm sorry, my daughter. I tried to move my toes, but I couldn't." As I struggled to accept this new state of paralysis, I heard Sam entering the room. I thought he would notice my situation and call 911, but to my surprise, he was just lying in his bed, turned away from me. We were in a 2-bedroom apartment. Sam was sleeping in one bedroom, while Colleen and Andrew were in the other, where I was paralyzed all night. Yet it was the most incredible night of my life. The Holy Spirit stayed by my side and didn't leave me for a moment. He taught me things all night, like a guide preparing me for something greater. It seemed like he was downloading Bible verses or stories and teaching them in an incredible way. He was neither fast nor slow. He was the perfect teacher. In the middle of the night, I remembered that I needed to go to the bathroom and tried to get up without thinking, forgetting for a moment that I was paralyzed. I told him I needed to go and he replied, "Daughter B, I remember wetting the bed and I thought maybe Sam would wake up because of all the water." But as usual, nothing would wake him. When the day began to lighten, I felt Sam get up, go to the bathroom, and come back without noticing my condition. Around 8 a.m., I felt him get up again. This time, he turned around and started shaking me, saying, Anna, are you awake?" Then he took some pills and tried to put them in my mouth. But since I was paralyzed, I clenched my teeth. He started grinding the pills against my teeth, and I tasted the bitterness, realizing it was a sanak. I thought to myself, why give me a hanak so early in the morning? Despite that, he kept insisting. Then he took a mint slice and placed it into my mouth, tucking it between my teeth and cheek. I was confused and wondered, do I have bad breath? And he gave me mint to cover it? Meanwhile, I feared he hadn't noticed my paralysis. Instead of calling 911, Sam climbed into bed and started touching me, feeling my wet clothes and saying, "You're wet, we need to get your clothes off." I thought he was going to wash or change me before calling 911, but he undressed me and left me naked. I was completely confused, wondering why he was doing this, especially since I was paralyzed and looked like a corpse. Then he got on top of me, which only added to my confusion. Then he left me and went to the bathroom. I heard the shower turn on. He was taking a shower and left me naked in the middle of the bed. When he came back, I noticed he was filling the bathtub. He came over and tried to pull me off the bed, but when he tried to lift me, I fell to the floor. He murmured, You're too heavy for me to carry." And I wanted to know what I was doing. I couldn't get up, and he left me on the ground. At that moment, we both heard Colin waking up in the next room because his television was on. He came running out and told Colin he was sad because his older brother might die in Egypt. She takes a lot of Sanac pills and doesn't want to be disturbed. Sam returned to the room and started pouring ice-cold water on me. I was completely shocked. I didn't understand what he was trying to do, but the sensation was excruciating, like a needle slowly heating up on my skin. The guy standing beside me whispered, "Girl, it will pass. Just one problem, it will pass." I tried hard to focus on the comforting words to suppress the pain. Suddenly, I saw the hand of Jesus. The only thing I could see were the nail marks where his hands had been pierced. Next to me, the suffering that had seemed so overwhelming now felt insignificant compared to what he had endured. I told myself, can I endure this? I can endure this. Eventually, Sunny stopped pouring water and I felt some relief. She walked away, left the room, and left me there confused, wondering why I was experiencing this. When he returned, this time he leaned in and pressed firmly on my nose, making it difficult for me to breathe. Since I was paralyzed, my teeth clenched and I couldn't breathe. He kept pressing on my nose, and somehow, by an involuntary reflex, I managed to open my mouth to gasp for air. The moment I did that, he released my nose and rushed out of the room. That's when I remembered the $1 million life insurance policy I had forgotten to cancel after my divorce. Everything made sense now. I didn't call 911 because I had other plans. When he came back, this time I was pinching my nose harder and had put my fingers over my mouth. At that moment, I knew it was over, that I couldn't breathe, and he wasn't releasing his hand. I began to choke, gasping, wheezing. There was no air left in my lungs, and I realized I was going to die. It was then that I saw the hand of Jesus again, but this time, standing, I could only see his knees and cloak. He reached out to me. I wanted to go with him. I didn't want him to leave me there. I felt like my soul was leaving. It wasn't the end or the beginning, just the continuation. I looked back and saw my body, but I was only the soul. I continued my journey, and quickly I saw beautiful white clouds parting to reveal a gorgeous blue sky. I kept saying, "Wow, how beautiful." The colors were vivid, and the blue sky was incredibly bright. However, there were creatures flying around in the sky. They were enormous, colorful beings with indescribable shades. As I moved further along, I reached a large green courtyard. I saw myself entering a room, and as I crossed this space, I finally saw a body of light at the entrance. I immediately recognized this body of light as my mother, who had passed away a few years earlier. There were no distinct features, just the light, but I knew without a doubt that it was her. It was as if there was a deep understanding, a way of knowing people beyond their physical appearances. Souls recognize each other, and my mother took me with her. When we entered, I saw another body of light slightly taller than my mother. I instantly knew it was Nadia, my sister. Seeing Nadia in the sky is indescribable. She is in heaven, and I remember walking with her. We left Mom behind and Nadia took me somewhere else. At that moment, I was so happy I couldn't help but smile. It was such an intense joy that I told Nadia I couldn't handle it. It was too much. I didn't know what to do, so blissful. It was an overwhelming feeling, an immense happiness so different from the worries and stress we experience on Earth. I was there complaining about being overwhelmed by joy. No one looked at me or said, "Anna, with Jesus, everything has become better." We walked together, and then I saw my father and mother, both as bodies of light. It was wonderful to see my father in paradise, to see how a cycle can come to an end. Because he knows that these last moments are not painful, he must also feel God beside him. At that moment, we communicated in a way that goes beyond words. Then Nadia said, "Okay, we have to hurry. We have a celebration with Jesus." I was surprised and thought to myself, "What do you mean?" He speaks so naturally, as if it's just an ordinary thing. I asked him, "Are we really going to see Jesus?" It's hard to face this reality from the other side, but somehow it's not my time to step forward yet. They left, and I stayed behind because I hadn't had the chance to attend the banquet with Jesus. Jesus showed me his face slowly, as if revealing glory. This wasn't the face I had imagined when I pictured Jesus of Nazareth as a child. Blue eyes and the looks of a handsome young man with olive skin. More like a representation of the Passion of Christ and closer to a Middle Eastern appearance. I remember thinking he wasn't as beautiful as I had expected. I was anticipating blue eyes and a perfect face. When I realized this, I tried to control my thoughts, knowing he could read them and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But he is so much more than that. He smiled at me and suddenly I found myself back in my room. At that moment, I could see Sam with my body close to him, still naked, and I didn't know how he had brought me there. He held me in his arms and I couldn't stand the thought of him touching me in any way. My soul returned to my body and I pushed him away, unable to bear his touch. I stood at the head of the bed and watched him still naked, even though I'm a conservative person. I didn't care about the expression on Sam's face at that moment when he saw me standing there. I felt worthless. I thought I was just coming back to say goodbye to Colleen and Andrew, but I realized it was only the beginning of a journey. A lot happened after that. A series of events you wouldn't believe took place in the United States. That's for next time. The police don't believe me. They eventually sent me to a psychiatric hospital claiming I had a nervous breakdown due to the stress of my job as a financial controller. There were too many chaotic events, one after another. After all that, they did a brain scan to see if I had suffered a stroke. That could explain the paralysis, but no stroke was found. I had cardiac tests and they came back negative. My lawyer suggested a legal hair analysis. That's when I discovered that Sam was poisoning me. After the divorce, he started putting barium in my coffee. Barium has no smell or taste. It causes pain and discomfort. It affects the nervous system, and I later remembered that Sam had stopped drinking coffee, yet he still made it for me. I believe all of this happened because I had that vision and was supposed to travel to Egypt the next day. Sam had only 3 weeks left, so his time was limited. If I left, it would be over for him, so he had to get rid of me. That night, I think he put all the poison in the rice, which is what paralyzed me. But I believe he didn't expect me to survive, and he kept watching, unaware that I was conscious. He thought he was crazy, but he knew everything. I just wanted to end my life, and I didn't know how to finish what I had started. In the end, he decided to strangle me to put an end to it all. That's what he did. Many people have asked me how I could share this story and if it was painful to relive those moments. They asked me how I got through it. I always smile and say that meeting the Holy Spirit is worth more than any pain. Betrayal is a disguised blessing. Sam's betrayal, as devastating as it was, doesn't carry the same weight anymore. I don't forgive him because he deserves it or because I care about him. He doesn't deserve my burden. People have asked me how I survived. I always smile and reply that meeting the Holy Spirit is worth more than any suffering or betrayal. It's a disguised blessing. Sam's betrayal, as devastating as it may be, no longer holds the same weight. I don't forgive him because he deserves it or because I care about him. He doesn't deserve this burden, this pain, or any bitterness I carry. He left, returned to Egypt, and God will take care of him, not me. Meeting the Holy Spirit was truly the most incredible experience of my life, beyond all suffering. Above all, even in the worst circumstances, I felt the comfort of being near death. Many parents who have painfully lost their children come to me for comfort, knowing that the Holy Spirit has comforted them as well. Some people ask me how I know, and I always say, who am I? Why would God come to comfort me and not someone else? I am nothing. I've made so many mistakes in my life. I've made so many wrong decisions, but he came to me to comfort me, and he is here. It wasn't just in the moment of death. He stayed with me until my last breath. His presence was there when I crossed to the other side. He showed me that he has been with me my whole life. Is it transformative to come back from that experience with this understanding? The truth is that the knowledge I've gained is incredible, and all I can tell you is, don't wait until your deathbed to discover it. I feel like I missed that opportunity for 48 years. He was always there. He never left me. He never. Today, he speaks to me differently than he did at my deathbed, but his presence is still here. He shows me that he has become my soulmate, my true partner, and that's all. It's an amazing experience for me that has completely changed my life. My advice to you now is not to wait until the last minute to recognize this powerful presence. Right now, we can all draw on it. He can be your partner, your companion every step of the way. Just open your heart to feel and recognize the signs of God. If you enjoyed this video and want more like it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates, and of course, leave a like. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next story.